Alright, the Eagles were back for day 2 and already a couple guys made their presence felt. Like Jordan Davis, for example, who lost 26 pounds. But the biggest question is, how will that affect the D-line? In this video, we'll get into that, discuss Johnny Wilson's promising performance, Kelee Ringo taking a backseat to Adoree Jackson, and the ever-evolving competition at safety. Plus, the Birds finally got a new weapon on the field, Jihaad Campbell continues to turn heads, and what Vic Fangio has planned is just unfair. So let's talk about it. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? First off, let me just say thank you. Appreciate all the feedback for the new intro. My wife, by the way, deserves all the credit. She's the one who made it, but also, I cannot thank you guys enough for making this community what it is. We just passed 133,000 subscribers on the channel, which is even crazier when you think about this time last year, the channel was barely at 70,000 subs. And Jordan Davis was 26 pounds heavier.
You need to lose weight immediately!
I mean, the Philly Dog claims he's down to 330 now, and honestly, just judging by the comparison from 1 year apart, I'd buy it.
Oh, geez, look at the butt on that. Yeah. He must work out.
Now, Vic Fangio played that part a little bit coy when asked about it, saying that JD was basically at that point towards the latter part of last season. But I'm sorry, the eye test is just too obvious to see he's the slimmest he's been with the Eagles. And considering that the 25-year-old added extra workouts to his routine while cutting out parts of his diet, it's no wonder the back half of last season saw him more than double his pressure rate. So naturally, then you think about this at even a lighter weight, the question is, will that help him this upcoming season?
I feel like I'm completely capable of that for playing both the anchor and being a pass rusher. And I just want to be, like they say, quarterback. I just want to be a dual threat. So I don't want to be a one-trick pony. I don't want to be, all that stuff. So I feel like it's going to be helpful for me to contribute to the team. So whatever I can do to do it.
What kind of workload do you think you can take now, snap-wise? I mean, obviously Jalen's gone to the spot where he almost never comes off the field.
Right.
But is there a happy medium for you there? What do you think your workload can be?
I can't really say specifics for sure, but I do want to be on the field as much as I can. And whatever's required or whatever's needed of me, I want to be on the field. I don't want to be a player that comes off every second and long, every third down and stuff like that. I want to be able to make those plays and, show the people what I'm capable of because, being a one-trick pony, being a run stopper, an anchor, that's cool and all, but I want to be able to do more.
I'm glad that JD mentioned that because we're all for the dude getting in as good of shape as possible, but there's also no question of how important he is to anchor the run defense. Can you imagine, though? Like, Jordan played about 22 snaps a game last season. For the record, he played the same amount of snaps as Moro Ojomo and over 130 snaps fewer than he managed in 2023. Granted, you could argue the snaps that he was on the field in 2024 were more impactful, so not necessarily always about volume, but I for one can't help but get excited about this new version of JD. And tell you what, if you want to see the big man in person, then all you need to do here is make sure to like and subscribe because I'm going to be giving away tickets to the Eagles open practice on August 10th here in an upcoming live stream, so stay tuned. Anyway, while we did get to see JD, Jalen Carter still isn't practicing as that marks 2 consecutive days that he's been on the side. Yet, like I mentioned previously, there's no reason to worry with multiple beat writers reporting the bread man will be fine.
Sure hope you're right.
Honestly, if anything, I see it as a good thing for guys like Jordan and Ojomo and Ty Robinson so that they can get in extra work with JC out. Yet even though the breadman wasn't able to practice, the really cool element to see Thursday was that he was very visibly engaged in hyping up the defense and pushing some of the other guys. Like Jeff McClain shared when he specifically got in defensive tackle Gabe Hall's ear to push him to finish his run when it appeared he was ready to bail halfway. I mean, I don't know, that might be a small thing to some people, but personally to me, to see that leadership and that next step from JC to kind of pull people along with him, that's huge. Of course, speaking of that extra work, when it comes to Nolan Smith, he was the first dude out there getting in some extra reps. Because even with all the success and hype after setting the Eagles' franchise record for the most sacks in a single postseason, he's completely moved on.
Last year is gone. I can't do nothing about last year. I only can focus on this year, my forward goals, and God bless me with the forward mindset and the patience to do that. I pray for it every day. Pray for patience and wisdom.
What's the most meaningful book you read this summer?
Self-resilience, 7 Steps of Self-Resilience. I just brought this back in the locker room right now so just to read it again, just because yesterday was bad, the day was bad. I'm just trying to build days and just keep telling myself to be resilient. Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to build it brick by brick, little by little.
Please tell me it's self-evident at this point. There's something undeniable about the selflessness and willingness of this group to buy into the culture. For real, you got guys trying to better themselves and following examples like A.J. Brown reading books, Jalen Hurts reminding others that last year is behind him, and Zach Bond preaching that underdog mentality. So like it or not, it really is just a Philly thing.
They pretty much have an option to buy into the culture or you're not going to last around here. And, I think that this group coming in is doing a tremendous job of buying into what it is. I mean, we're going to have fun. We're going to love each other, but there's going to be some days that it sucks and it's going to be hard. But, that's just part of football.
I realize I bleed Kelee green, but I honestly don't think that there's a squad that's more locked in and bought in with the culture than what Philly has right now. Again, that's with the understanding that we're only a couple days into training camp, but the positivity is infectious. Of course, for the official injury report on day 2, the Eagles listed the same designations from day 1. Jalen Carter and Kenyon Green were out with a shoulder and knee, and then Jihaad Campbell and Cam Jurgens were limited participants. However, what wasn't the same from day 1 was the return game, as wide receiver return specialist Avery Williams took part in the return game by fielding kicks during that portion of practice.
It's about damn time.
I hear you. After not getting any glimpses during OTAs and then really not much of anything for day 1, it was nice to get a little bit more of an insight on a guy who's supposed to be a Swiss Army knife, and at the very least, a valuable presence as a returner. Remember, Williams is a dude who averaged 27.2 yards per kickoff return and had 20 punt returns at an average of 9.2 yards per return last season. Plus, perhaps most importantly, he hasn't had a single muffed return in 161 total chances during his entire NFL career.
Do you realize what you've done?
I don't know, maybe I just jinxed it, but I am excited to see about the dynamic that he adds to the return game. Granted, the wide receiver who's garnered the most attention so far is probably Terrace Marshall Jr. Come on, you got A.J. Brown talking up the former second-round pick for pushing everyone in the wide receiver room. And that's coming after Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts praised the wideout back during OTAs for constantly making big plays in team drills, leaving beat writers to share that it's actually Marshall who's been the third best receiver so far and not Jahan Dotson. Let me say it again, it's early in camp, and truth be told, Dotson's not giving up the wide receiver 3 spot. And the Inquirer would probably argue that Dotson has made a few more plays, noting that number 2 actually caught a number of short passes from the slot with the first team and made an impressive stab on a slant from Tanner McKee, leaving Jeff McClain to say that while he might have been underused a year ago, he's shown that when the ball comes his way, he's likely to catch it. And yeah, remember, it's been 33 targets, 0 drops last year, but overall positive news all around for multiple receivers, including, because I got several DMs on this, Johnny Wilson. Since the Inquirer shared of an instance when the second-year receiver had a nice grab on a low ball on day 1 and then followed that up on Thursday, this time on a great over-the-shoulder grab on a ball that made him adjust under it. And then later in practice, he actually drew a defensive hold on rookie Mac McWilliams. Now, unfortunately, in case you're not aware, the Eagles don't allow recording during team drills, so, we don't actually get to see those plays in action. Otherwise, I would play the clips for you, but it's still a promising sign, beat writers reporting Johnny Wilson making a few good plays. Meanwhile, the veto of recording going on with the New York Giants is objectively hilarious, since after rookie Jackson Dart threw a pick 6 in practice doing his best Daniel Jones impression, the Giants returned the following day with signs telling fans there would no longer be recording during team periods.
Wait, hang on. I gotta post this on Facebook.
The claim is that the timing was entirely coincidental, but sure it was. Anyway, back to Philly. Like I said, they don't allow filming either, but based on all reports, Cooper DeJean continues to get reps at safety when the Eagles are in base and then otherwise goes back to nickel. Let's just put it this way. Basically, whatever gets Coop on the field, yet still allows Fangio to play his best combination in the secondary.
The primary motive is, we'd like to have him be part of our base package. And I do believe he can play safety. It's new for him, so we're going to give him some work there. Then you'll see days in the base where will play some corner. So it's going to be an evolution, and a lot of it will depend upon how well we do at those positions with the other guys. So, we'll make the best decision for the team based upon. So it's not only how he's doing; it's going to be determined by how everybody's doing at safety and corner.
Sidney Brown, your first training camp with him on the field, what is your impression of him, and what is kind of your expectation level for that safe position for somebody to distinguish themselves?
Yeah, you just got to go out there and play good. I mean, so much of the safety position is just like ILB, where instincts and play recognition play a major part in how good you are. And he just needs a lot of reps. He didn't start practicing last year until October, and at that point you're in game weeks where you don't practice a whole lot, you don't have a lot of reps. So he didn't have a great opportunity last year because of his injury. And hopefully now we'll see exactly what he can do. And he had a good offseason, did well yesterday, and we'll see how he does.
Okay, so this may be the daily reminder to not overreact based on one practice or one day's worth of news, but truth be told, just to share here, on first team reps, it was actually Andrew Mukuba who's getting the first reps over Sidney Brown, at least for day 2. Of course, Brown did eventually rotate in, but so did Tristan McCollum and Andre Sam. So yeah, that comment from back during OTAs from Fangio saying the room was wide open at safety, that is definitely the case. And who knows, maybe that ends up being the same thing with Kelee Ringo at the other cornerback spot. Although personally, I am still holding to Ringo being the guy. For what it's worth, though, it was actually Adoree Jackson who got the initial reps with the first team on day 2 before Ringo eventually rotated in during 7-on-7s. Again, that doesn't mean anyone's overtaking somebody for a starting role. Heck, we're just in late July at this point. We have tons of time to go. But we should also mention this, at least, that Fangio in the past has kind of brought up the fact of how he likes to play a bunch of different guys at different spots, different combinations, because, if you face injuries or adversity, something like that throughout the season, it helps to have guys playing in different roles. So, for example, shout out to Brooks Cabina, but Jihaad Campbell and Smile Munden were seen getting reps with the first team. And okay, fine, Campbell, sure, but unless Zach Bond is hurt, there's no way that's the rotation out there with the ones. Still, it's great experience, even though, as John Clark shared, for the second day in a row, Kelee Ringo was losing those battles to A.J. Brown, with A.J. saying it's his responsibility to help get the young secondary ready for the season.
Honestly, I think it's a part of my responsibility, part of our responsibility as wide receivers to get those guys ready, and vice versa.
It's perfect. It really is the perfect scenario. I mean, you think about it, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, there's not a better combo when it comes to one-on-ones, especially when QB1 is on like he's been this offseason. Heck, I know it's just team drills and the pads haven't come on yet, but through 5 practices, ESP has Jalen charted at a near 97% completion rate, with the best throw of the entire offseason coming Thursday as Dave Zangaro shared that Hurts threw a perfect ball over the outstretched arms of Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and into the hands of Dallas Goedert down the field. Now, the difficulty was that Sidney Brown was also right there playing over the top for Jalen, so he had to fit it in double coverage and really showed off how accurate he could be. But as if that was impressive enough, it didn't end there because then Jalen came back to roll out left and deliver a bullet to Devonta Smith 25 yards down the field. A throw that, by the way, some media members observed saying that's one Hurts probably couldn't have made earlier in his career. So it's not surprising to hear the extra confidence from QB1 heading into year 6.
I've been a very long time being told that I got to do it a certain type of way. That didn't get me the win when I did it the way that everybody wanted me to do it. And so that's something that I carry with me. And I'm speaking specifically towards, you guys have seen the speech where pregame speech before last year's final game talking about having the opportunity to go out there and kind of go prove yourself on a big stage. But when you put so much energy towards the product and performance, you kind of lose sight of what the main thing is in winning. And so I think having that loss has done nothing but motivate me from that point on in 2022 now to just find ways to win regardless of how it looks.
For the record, and this kind of speaks for itself, but Hurts was just about flawless, going 17 for 19 on the day, with a lone buzzkill being when he tried to test Zach Bond over the middle with an intended target to Smitty, which was broken up.
That's not supposed to happen.
Well, neither was Jihaad Campbell in getting onto the field before August, but here we are.
I'm learning that our trainers like to understate and overachieve so they look good.
Also, in case you somehow missed it, despite the limited designation, Jihaad Campbell has been moving extremely well. And kudos to Dave Zangaro, who noted the rookie covers a lot of ground and is super long. So yeah, who can't wait to see him lined up next to Zach Bond? It's like Dave said, the rest of the NFL will soon find out, but it's going to be a nightmare for teams to test the middle of the field against the Eagles.
I was praying for something like this.
Look, we're talking about a guy who's the most athletic player to come out of the draft and with the ability to rush the passer, so the possibilities are endless for how Fangio can use him. Granted, he's focused on inside linebacker at the moment, but the DC left it open to getting an occasional snap at edge.
That's something that he could possibly do. We have fronts where those guys move up on the line. And then, because of his background, again, depending upon how the roster shakes out and who's playing, it might be a position where we might need to play him at some point.
Realistically, I think that Jihaad will have an opportunity to walk down and be an edge, but ultimately his position is going to be an off-ball linebacker. But I will say, judging by the continual hype around the rook, it's hard to deny how much the similarities are towards the buzz that Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean got last season. Yet even with the insane momentum headed in that direction, don't sleep on Jeremiah Trotter Jr., as he did make a few plays in the running game and continues to get those first-team reps. At the same time, multiple outlets have noted that he struggled against Dallas Goedert and even a little bit of Grant Calcaterra in the passing game, so it'll be interesting to see how much of a factor that plays in terms of the rotation. Speaking of that rotation, though, when it comes to the defensive line, Milton Williams left quite the void, but Zach Berman said Moro Ojomo continues to make his presence felt, generating multiple pressures on Thursday while making Tanner McKee's life not a fun one, specifically on one time beating Tyler Steen and forcing incompletion. And I gotta say, it is pretty cool to see the O-line is noticing.
I think Moro has done a tremendous job. I think, obviously, I've got to see him in practice quite a bit. I think maybe he got overshadowed a little bit in the last year or two. You know, obviously you got guys like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis out there, but I think that he has done a tremendous job. He comes in every year. He works hard. I think he's a very technical player. He's very good, and he's also playing beside a lot of good players. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year.
Mo did a good job last year in the reps he got. His reps will kick up this year. I think Milton's reps will be, divided up between him, Jordan playing more. See what Ty can do, see what BY can do, Gabe can do. So I think it will be more of a committee eating up those reps than just one guy. But back to your question, I'm very happy with Mo. Was happy with him last year, and I expect him to play good for us.
Reminder that no pads have come on yet, so when it comes to the trenches, we probably won't get as good of an idea until that happens. Although when it comes to the wide receiver and cornerback battles, those have shown some interesting changes, like Quinyon Mitchell, who Fangio confirmed would be looked at for potentially playing both sides of the field. And there's actually a chance for rookie Mac McWilliams to carve out some reps at the nickel position.
A young player that we like, think he can play the nickel position. Think he's got a chance at corner, and he's an interesting guy here these next 4 or 5 weeks to see how much he progresses and see if he finds a role with us.
Obviously, he's not there yet, but just to even be mentioned by Fangio as a possibility and trying to earn a role there means something. And overall, just breaking down the positional battles. Oh yeah, got to give Kevin Patullo a little praise too, because the Eagle Eye mentioned just how noticeable it's been in only 2 days for how much the offense is firing on all cylinders. So yeah, good start for now. Do me a favor, drop a like on the video if you have not already. Make sure to subscribe. Next practice for the Birds is on Saturday, so I'll have a breakdown video for you after that. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.
Like I should feel like I should go.